Good day everyone! We are the 11th group from grade 12 STEM B. We are here today to present to you our research study titled Extent of Readiness of Grade 10 Students for Basic Calculus of Senior High School STEM Strand. These are the proponents of the study. Yours truly, Shelly Faye Medina, Justine Magdato, Jasmine Manguera, Gabriel Andre Tarine, and Anne Renly Mertel Swing. Let us now proceed to the discussion of our study. First, the rationale. When asked what their least favorite subject is, the majority of people choose mathematics. This is the clear commonality of many studies in the context of the society's view about mathematics. People are not enthralled by it, and they find it hard to comprehend. However, mathematics is more than just about numbers and simple addition and subtraction. It just requires students to have a better understanding of it, as well as particular skills to cope up with it. Mathematics covers a wide range of topics, including arithmetic, trigonometry, analysis, algebra, geometry, statistics, and calculus. One of the vital subjects that will be encountered by students is calculus. It is one of the curriculum subjects taught in the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics or STEM strand.
Calculus may be a tough subject for certain students. Consequently, students who pursue calculus will have to prepare in such a way that the difficulties they will encounter will be lessened. According to Lexico, in the year 2021, readiness is the mode or condition of being completely ready to accomplish something, the desire to commit or achieve something, and the nature of being instant, speedy, and punctual. The students' performance and knowledge about the subject are also associated with their preparation in learning mathematics precisely observed by their instructors. A study shows a direct relation of the students' preparation in learning to their performance as stated by Kearney and Garfield in the year 2019.
A study of Capuna et al. Year 2019 shows that the Philippines ranked 79 out of 138 participating countries in the year 2016 to 2017 Global Competitiveness Report in terms of science and mathematics education. This corresponds to the Department of Education's result of the National Achievement Test concludes that the average percentage score in math is about 46.63%, which is less than the 50% requirement of DepEd. This yields to the conclusion that, for the previous years, students are less likely to be ready for math-related subjects for the STEM strand, especially basic calculus. A poor basic calculus grade is the most common concern among senior high school students, which prevents them from enrolling in the universities of their preference when they start college. When doing so, grades have huge impact, especially if students want to apply for scholarship.
The next one is the research objectives. The general objective of the study is determining the extent of readiness of grade 10 students in basic calculus for senior high school. The specific objectives are first to determine the extent of readiness of grade 10 students assessed by the grade 10 teacher respondents. The next one is to determine the extent of readiness of grade 10 students based on their prerequisite competencies assessed by the basic calculus teachers. The next one is to determine the extent of readiness of grade 10 students in basic calculus of senior high school relative to the identified prerequisite competency skills. The next one is to determine the least mastered skills among the identified prerequisite competencies needed for the basic calculus subject. And lastly, to determine the significant difference between grade 10 math teachers and basic calculus teachers' assessment on the students' readiness in taking basic calculus.
Methodology. Methodology covers the research design, research respondents, research instruments, data collection procedure, data processing and statistical treatment, and ethical considerations used by the researchers.
In this study, the researchers will utilize quantitative research, particularly quantitative descriptive research. Quantitative descriptive is a process of gathering measurable data for statistical analysis of a population sample, which makes it the most efficient design to utilize in this study because the variables are measurable. It will identify the least mastered prerequisite competencies and the advancement of students' knowledge to the prerequisite topics by collecting data through surveys.
The respondents for this study are 300 grade 10 students, 10 grade 10 math teachers, and 10 basic calculus teachers from selected high schools within the division of Pampanga under the academic year of 2021 to 2022. The researchers used two types of sampling technique for this study. First, non-probability purposive sampling technique. This sampling technique was used in selecting grade 10 student respondents based on the predetermined criteria that they are planning to take the STEM strand in senior high school. Using the same sampling technique, the researchers selected grade 10 math teachers with at least 5 years of experience in teaching the said subject and basic calculus teachers with at least 3 years of experience in teaching the said subject, and are all currently teaching these subjects this academic year. Aside from the purposive sampling, for this study, the researchers also used simple random sampling technique in order to accommodate the 300 grade 10 students, 10 grade 10 math teachers, and 10 basic calculus teachers intended to be the respondents of the study.
The assessment tests for grade 10 students were created by the researchers, and the questionnaires for the teacher respondents were modified from an existing study entitled Extent of Readiness of Grade 10 Students for General Mathematics of Senior High School in Sorsogon City, Philippines.
Data analysis. The data collected were counted, calculated, analyzed, and evaluated using the statistical procedures listed below. Weighted mean and standard deviation were used in determining the following. Number 1 is the extent of readiness of grade 10 students assessed by their grade 10 teacher respondents, and the extent of readiness of the grade 10 students based on their prerequisite competencies assessed by the basic calculus teacher respondents. While in determining the extent of readiness of students in basic calculus of senior high school relative to the identified prerequisite competencies, item analysis, weighted mean, standard deviation, frequency, and percentage were used. To determine the least mastered skills, the researchers used the competencies rank distribution among the identified people. And lastly, to determine the significant difference between grade 10 math teachers and basic calculus teachers' assessment on the students' readiness in taking basic calculus, t-test will be used for independent samples.
For the results and discussion, the coverage are the findings of the data acquired for the study. The information was arranged in order in which the statement of the problem of the study was described.
This table, the grade 10 math teacher's assessment of prerequisite topics for grade 10 students, presents the grade 10 math educator's assessment on prerequisite topics for grade 10 students. It can be observed that the respondents have a moderate level of readiness in the majority of the topics. The lowest mean score was 2.70 in the area of trigonometry under the topic of simplifying trigonometric expressions using identities. On the other hand, the highest mean value was 4.20 in the same area but under a different topic, which is identifying triangle parts. In the study of Adhikari and Subedi in 2021, students have a poor performance level and have more problems studying trigonometry. Therefore, there's a difficulty for the students in learning it.
For the second table titled Basic Calculus Teacher's Assessment of Prerequisite Topics for Grade 10 Students. Table 2 shows the assessed prerequisite topics for grade 10 students by basic calculus teachers. It can be observed that respondents have a high level of readiness in the majority of the topics. The lowest mean value is 2.40 in the field of trigonometry under the subtopic of simplifying trigonometric expressions using identities, while the highest mean score obtained was 4.60 in the subtopic of locating points in a Cartesian plane. As mentioned by Honorio 2015, a study found that students' understanding of trigonometry did not develop as observed, and that students have difficulty in completing trigonometry problems. Some researchers have indicated that students have misunderstandings, errors, and learning challenges when it comes to trigonometry.
For the third table, titled Determining the Level of Readiness of Grade 10 Students in Taking Basic Calculus Based on Their Test Scores. Table 3 indicates how prepared grade 10 students are to take basic calculus based on their scores they got in taking the assessment test inclined to prerequisite topics. The students' overall mean score was 13.87 with a standard deviation of 6.00, as shown in the table, which is equivalent to moderate level of readiness. The most obtained score on the assessment exam for grade 10 students with a frequency of 105 is within the scores ranging from 6 to 11 in the low level, and the least obtained score with a frequency of 18 falls between scores ranging from 0 and 5 in the very low level.
For the fourth table, titled Identifying the Least Mastered Skills of the Students Among the Prerequisite Topics Needed for Basic Calculus. Table 4 presents that according to the students' assessment exam results, a lot of students struggle as they scored less than 50% on some prerequisite topics needed for basic calculus, such as prerequisite skills in factoring, which gained 43%, and prerequisite skills in solving equations gathered 35%, which is the lowest, and both of the topics under algebra. Then last topic that received less than 50% of the correct answer is the solving trigonometric identities, which received 40%, that is under trigonometry.
For the last table titled Test of Significant Difference Between Grade 10 Math Teachers and Basic Calculus Teachers on Students' Readiness in Taking Basic Calculus Subject. Table 5 shows that the analysis of the difference in assessment of the prerequisite topics for basic calculus between grade 10 math teachers and basic calculus instructors. Basic calculus teachers have slightly higher assessment than the grade 10 math teachers about the readiness of grade 10 students who prepare to take the STEM strand for their senior high school. The difference is said to be not significant since the computed p-value 0.64, which is not lesser than 0.50 level of significance. This only shows that grade 10 math teachers and basic calculus teachers have the same perspectives about the readiness of grade 10 students relative to the prerequisite topics needed for taking basic calculus.
And for the final chapter, we will discuss the conclusions and recommendations obtained from our research.
Based on the findings of the study, it can be concluded that the assessment of grade 10 math teachers and basic calculus teachers were not significant to each other. Additionally, the least mastered skills of grade 10 students who are planning to take STEM strand in their senior high school are the topics of skills in factoring and skills in solving equations, both under algebra, and solving trigonometric identities under trigonometry.
For the recommendations, first is for the school administrators and math teachers. They may consider conducting bridging programs for grade 10 students who wish to take STEM strand in their senior high school. Second is for the students in grade 10. They may watch and subscribe to tutorial online videos, particularly on topics that they have a low level of performance.
Third is for the grade 10 math teachers. They may enhance the quality and relevance of the instruction, particularly in teaching the foundation of mathematics in the junior high school level.
Fourth is for the basic calculus teachers. They may diagnose the strengths and weaknesses of their students before discussing all the competencies needed for basic calculus.
Second to the last recommendation is for the curriculum planners who may consider sustainability. They may also take the research as a reference and guide on what topics they need to focus on more, and be aware of the problems the students are experiencing so that it could help them make a more effective curriculum guide that would effectively prepare the students for their advanced mathematics subjects. Lastly is for the future researchers. They may conduct a longitudinal study to validate the results of this study.
And these are our references used for this study. Again, thank you for listening to our presentation. We are now ready for your suggestions and comments on our paper.